And then we also had Jerry Sikora on the flip side of that, who was in 82nd after his first squad with 94 under, made the improvement to -30, makes the cut by 10 pins. Other notables on that. Once again, we had Mike Peters from 92nd to 7th with a 224 pin swing. We had Andy Mills just missed the cut by 10 pins, went from 138 under to 50 under. Brett Cooper went from 59th place, 19 pins out of the cut, all the way to 15th at -20. Jamie Clark from 83rd at a -99, all the way to 9th place with a +69. And then rounding out the 5 bowlers that made the cut from their re-entries is Jerry Sikora. Once again, went from 82nd all the way to 45th. So with that, we did have 2 bowlers. We had Casey Murphy, and we also had Kenny Calkins III, who I actually did not mention there. So we actually had 6 out of 11 make the cut from their re-entry. Kenny Calkins went from 36 under all the way to 22 under. So he went from 48th all the way to 37th. So it's coming to find that that re-entry was very important. So we take a look on 5 and 6. Decent start for everybody. We only have 1 open down there, and that's in that first frame. Looks like Greg Thomas had an open on a single pin. I'm sorry, that was Mike Peters. And then Brett Lobdell, a little trouble with carry this morning. Going 8 spare, 9 spare. Going for the single pin conversion. On 13 and 14, we do have Dan Perry opening up with the front 4. Scott Greiner, a little bit of trouble, going spare, open, strike, spare. Jeff Riggles seems to be hitting lane 13, but having a little trouble on 14, going strike, 8 spare, strike, open, strike. So once again, got to wonder if 13 to 14, we're going to see a difference between the two again today. Matt joining me again in the booth.
Yeah,
how are we doing, Matt?
A quick conversation with tournament director Joe Engelkiss, where we're talking about the step ladder and the bracket to get to the step ladder, where it's going to take place. So we got a quick update. I'll let you guys know. They're going to have the 10 versus 7 and 8 versus 9 seeds bowl 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the winners are going to bowl on 7 and 8 to make that 5th spot. At that time, it'll be traditional step ladder. They're going to go down to 15 and 16 and move left every pair every game. And the finals are going to take place here on lanes 9 and 10 here on InsideBowling.
So we are going to see 13 and 14 in effect. You got to wonder if the low-scoring tradition is going to continue.
Exactly.
Although we do have, that is Dan Perry down there, open with the front 4, but then he leaves a 7-10, something that we saw a ton of yesterday.
There were a lot left.
So with that, once the 7th through 10th place, your 5th place has been determined, we take 1 through 8 out of play, and then we take 17 through 32 out of play. It's going to be right in the middle of the house here, 9 and 10 being your final match. There's another 7-10 on the top right of your screen, lane 7. If we just had a check mark of how many were left yesterday, I feel like our page would be filled.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't astronomical, but there certainly was 7
more than
8,
normal,
maybe
yeah,
10.
that we saw.
Yeah. Get a nice look here at Mike Peters. Here up on lane number 5.
And now, kind of surprising is the fact that, kind of looking around here, nothing really big being shot. You would think that with the cashers round, you'd have a big opening, but seems that
especially
bowlers
on
are
the fresh
having
with the clean back end. But it kind of seemed that way yesterday too. The starting games were a little bit tougher, and then when they opened up a little bit, then they started to score better. So maybe that'll start happening here, game 2, game 3, or so.
Yeah, I feel like it. Like you said, game 2, game 3, the scores started to go up. It was almost like they started kind of at an even pace, went up a little bit, and then dropped significantly on the later blocks. You usually see that 240, that 250, a multitude of those on the last 2 games to be able to squeak in that cut. But yesterday it just didn't happen. We didn't have that big. We didn't have that big of a gap, of a jump the last couple of games. It kind of kept pretty even throughout the day.
Yeah, it did.
It just goes to show that this tough pattern, which is available under our live stream, under the event information, if you want to click that blue link, it says lane pattern. That'll show you what these guys are bowling on today. 38-foot pattern, high volume, ice oil. So it gets pretty... I don't know. Well, yesterday we discussed whether or not to use the word carry down. But I feel like with this type of volume, with this type of oil, it really could carry down on the day. As Tom Hess yesterday, our A squad leader, by 98 pins. And just want to mention, 121 over on the squad with a 150 and a 181.
He's good.
Yeah, he made it.
But I say that in the way that he must have had huge games to make up for those low games. Not that he's good because he shot bad. Tom's a great guy. We had a good talk with him yesterday. A nice opportunity to have him sit in the booth, give us some good insight with 11thframe.com open proprietor or tournament director and blogger Jeff Riggles.
Yeah, it was great to hear those two yesterday and kind of get in the minds of, I feel, 2 completely different bowlers, 2 completely different styles. And we heard Hess yesterday talking about how he actually balled up and moved right on the day, ended further right than he started on a 7-game block. That's basically unheard of in a tournament. I just see Dan Perry, a light mixer on 13. He's going for at a 264 pace. That's pretty big for him right there. As he is at plus 13. 125 pins off the leader spot, but it's pretty tight between 10th and 24th. It's just a 39 pin gap, which 230, 240, that makes up for you right there. And that's not good down there. Looks like troubles continue for Brett Lobdell.
Lobdell?
Yeah, Brett Lobdell. Hasn't had a strike yet on 5 and 6. Was clean up to this point. Goes high, leaves a Greek church. 5 count. That's tough. When you have a series of 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 spare, and you're trying to make that move, trying to just get it to carry, and then you go 5 count on a spare, that's pretty tough to come back from. So it's going to be interesting to see how the back half of this game goes for him. And he misses the head pin. Other notables right in front of us, Brad Miller is going for 3 in a row. He's going at a 257 pace right now. That's a little high. Leaves a 3.610. Brad's sitting at 28 over, 15th place. Other than that, not much happening. I mean, we have a couple 230, 240 potentials, but we also have possibility of some disastrous games here, including 13 and 14, making its mark again. Scott Greiner can strike out for a 187, needs the back 4 for that. Jeff Riggles also finding trouble, still has not struck, actually did not strike the whole game on lane 13, and has struck all but once on lane 14. So once again, we have to keep an eye on that 13 and 14. Dan Perry coming up on lane 13 on an open in the 8th frame. Missed a 9 count, single pin. But he still has 231 left, which is by far the high on that pair. So he will find himself overtaking Jeff Riggles and Scott Greiner. Perhaps a solid 10. And 5 and 6 as well have a possibility of a 221 down there for Jamie Clark. Jamie, one of our re-entries, going from 83rd all the way to 9th place in a squad. We also have Mike Peters down there. Peters got a 224 pace. Brett Lobdell finds himself continuing the streak of trouble as he leaves a 4-7. Still, after 7 frames, has not struck.
So Riggles over here is up in the 10th frame now. It looks like he's got 148 in the 9th on a spare, so this is his first ball in the 10th.
So, Matt, I was just handed an interesting list that I'm sure you and a lot of people are interested in hearing. And that is the numbers game. That is the prize fund, the overall, the big cha-ching right here. $24,580 put into this prize fund.
Wow.
48th place, you're making yourself $80 at $230. And then we're going to swing it up all the way to first place. First place bowling today for $2,600. Our final match is a $500 difference, going $2,600 to $2,100. Third place, $1,600. Fourth place, $1,250. And fifth place, rounding out our step ladders, is going to be worth $1,100. Nice little paycheck.
Yeah, definitely.
Unbelievable. And we had, it looks like we had a total of 12 women yesterday because we paid out $450 to the women. And that's pretty cool.
That's awesome in itself.
Yeah, it's a 1 in 3 payout. Guaranteed at least $150, so your entry fee back. I guess we did not have enough senior bowlers, so Jeff Riggles does not get that extra $150 for being the high.
I think John Brocklin was in that pot. And let's see. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were a few more, just not enough.
And not very many people go and plus this game.
No, there's not. Over on our right, on 13 and 14 featured pair, I see a 164 game.
Yeah, good spare for 166.
Yeah, Riggles looks like he shot
171.
171. There's a possibility of a
221.
221. We need binoculars up here.
Yeah, they're a little low, especially when the bowler is up. Goes to a kind of red, and it's pretty hard to see.
Tough to see.
Although Jamie Clark down here going for a 253, or I'm sorry, a 223 pace. So that's going to move him up a little bit more in the standings. And have we ever remembered how to pronounce John's last name? Metzger?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. Shot a 130 in front of us. Scott Rains as well, having trouble with a 164 game, so that's going to move them down from positive to negative. But Brad Miller finding a little success with a 214.
Mike Peters going Brooklyn. What's that going to give him? 160.
224. If he gets the next two, it's a 224.
Okay.
Dan Perry looks like he's
Mesker.
going to go for a
Jeremy Morris
Mesker.
in the chat.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank
Mesker.
you. The CH messed me up on it. In lane 12, you can see in the top right part of the left side of the stream, saw the strike of Andy Shute. Andy needs the next two to go 159. So I think we're going to see a big swing in standings straight off the bat. Especially for those bowlers that looks like down on 3 and 4, we have a couple of good scores going on. Your A squad leader, Tom Hess, has a potential 215.
Oh, we almost saw another 710 there.
Wow.
On
Jamie Clark. So what a pairing that is. Marshall Kent and Tom Hess on the same pair. Nick Crummell, Mr. 300. With Jacob Kent, our tournament leader. Once again, Jacob re-entry went from 34th all the way to first place, 154 pin swing between the two squads. That's quite significant, a 20 pin increase in average.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that'll lead to a big debate about whether or not that's gives people an advantage because they know how it
twice.
goes. They bowl twice. They know what to expect now.
Well, that's the thing is that I was kind of surprised because Tom Hess sitting in the booth yesterday, he was saying that he was debating whether or not to bowl and everything. He still had his bowler's tape on his thumb.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to go out there and shoot C squad, and he's like,
I kind of thought he did too.
Yeah, and then I'm like, I just wonder because we had so few make it from A squad that I just wonder if the lanes are playing different. But like I said, he has 215 going, stepping up here on lane 4. Marshall Kent had a 4-6 in the 10th on lane 3, but he's still going to go plus this game. He goes +1. That's a lot of pens left out there, though.
Yep.
Especially on a 4-bagger. And so I just wonder how different Tom is finding the lanes and if he would have been able to get a little bit more insight if he would have bowled C squad and checked the transition throughout the 7 games. Especially with that moving right throughout the day.
Yeah.
I mean, that just still gets me.
Yeah,
gets me.
That's interesting, but he is good, so he knows what he's doing. As it looks like he left a 4-pin there. You just saw it on lane 4.
Yep. And everyone on that pair goes plus. Not much, but +1, +2, and Tom can go +4.
So they're still in the lower half of the top 10. That's the big number today, is 10.
That is the number. That is the number to get to. And I think the whole squad out here in 6 games has a chance to make it. That's a lot of additional games.
Oh, yeah. So action has finished up on our featured pairs. Game number 2 now is getting underway here on 13 and 14.
And our skip procedure today, a little bit different. Yesterday we went skip 1, skip 2, skip 1, skip 2. Today it goes skip 1, skip 2, skip 3, skip 1, skip 2. So we're going to see another variety of faces on our pairs. Tom Hess did convert the 4-pin. He's going up for his last shot. And we have Brad Miller up on lane 13.
Starting off good.
Brad bowling with Dwayne Kiltz and Scott Rains today. Or no, I'm sorry. He bowled Dwayne Kiltz yesterday. That's what it was. Bowling with Scott Rains and John Mesker. So glad we've got that because that was not going to happen on my eyes. A couple of really bright shirts on lanes 3 and 4 coming up. Might be able to see those guys out of the corner.
So now in our low featured pair, it looks like we're going to have Jacob Kent, Nick Krummel, and Chad Nelson.
Jacob Kent, your tournament leader. Nick Krummel was 3 pins under him going into today. 300 yesterday, our only 300. Other than that...
That was a fine 300, too. The last couple shots were really good. Through the Storm IQ Tour solid. A great ball from Storm, one of our featured sponsors here of this tournament.
And now, we did not have a camera available to cover that yesterday. But now, today, we do. So if we have anything big going on down there, we could switch right over to it, bring you guys the action live.
There's Jacob Kent's first ball in the second game.
Kent going with the old school style shirts. Just nice.
Yeah, I like that. Nice big bold letters, and we know who he is.
Yeah. A lot of people yesterday. A lot of custom shirts without names on the back, and it was tough for us up here in the booth. But another shout out to the tournament staff here. They provided us with an excellent list, letting us know exactly who is bowling.
Yep.
You see Brad Miller on 14, little wide for a 1-2-8-10. You see in the top corner of your screen, Marshall Kent just picked a 2-4-10.
Oh, wow.
That guy,
nice.
he's just on it. Like, no spare up there. I feel like he doesn't have a 50-50 chance on anything you leave out there, even if it's a 7-10. Speaking of 7-10, there's another one top right of your screen on lane 15. Wow. Nick Krummel just obliterated the pocket. I'm talking, you thought the last 3 in his 10th frame were flush. I didn't even have a chance. We get our first look at Chad Nelson on lane 5. Chad was one of our C squad qualifiers. Kind of interesting that the top 3 came out of C squad. Your leader in B squad, Greg Thomas, was in 4th place with 124. And Tom Hess, your leader in A squad, with 121. I'm interested to see if Marshall is still bowling with the urethane yesterday. A different choice. It looks like he's pretty far left, so I'm sure he's throwing that IQ Tour solid. Troubles continue for Brad Miller on lane 13. Goes high for a 6-7-10. After starting off with a flush strike, goes light, misses the head pin, leaves a 1-2-8-10. Then on 13, gets up, goes high. Troubles continue on 13 and 14. Scott Rains, after opening with 2 spares, throws a strike on 14. And we are aware of the connectivity issues on our stream right now. But we do have one of the best in the business, Matt Turek, on it. Sure he'll get it squared away. Nick Crummell, lane 5, week 10. Chad Nelson with a 210 up on lane 6. And on lane 13, back-to-back 6-7-10s. And Brad Miller goes light again on lane 14, leaves a 6-count bucket. It just barely picks it. I think he needs to make a pretty big move down there. Lane to lane, though. Not. You don't want to go light on one lane and then make the move on the left, on the opposite lane, trying to make that move off of one lane to the other. So Jacob Kent with front 2, coming up on lane 6. And light again on lane 13. So it's just a back and forth with Brad. Tough lane down there. Brad already has 2 opens in 5 frames, along with John Mesker. Scott Rains coming up on lane number 14, sitting on a double right now, going for the turkey. Let's take a look how he's playing him, how he's conquering lanes 13 and 14 down here. You see Nick Crummell almost leaving a 7-10, but manages to get the 7 out of it. All right, so here we go. Here's our look. Scott Rains. Looks like he's going up the outside pretty hard. Comes in light. Nice mixer. That's for 3 in a row right there. It's going at 277 pace right now. Tournament leader Jacob Kent on lane 5 with the front 3. It's interesting to see that bowler on 13 to 14, Scott Rains going up the outside. Jacob Kent, I'm sure, is going to be swinging the lane. That is right. Comes in light for a 7 count, 2-4-5. Seems like a lot of bowlers trying to loop it early today, much earlier in the day than what we saw yesterday. And all bowlers bowling 6 games, every one of them cashing, low cash spot today, taking home $230. Nice prize for the efforts. And I don't know what it is, but there's been a string of shots just either coming in super weak or coming in light. Lots of 2-pin combinations, 2-10 buckets. We got Scott Rains on 13. Light again, but throwing it exceptionally hard up the outside. Tom Hess picking the 2-10 on lane 7. It's after going strike, 4-count split with an open, strike, 2-10 spare. Marshall Kent, after 4 frames, has a spare, split conversion. It was a 2-4-10, then goes to the next 3. Troubles continue for John Mesker down on 13 and 14. Gone light. Ball did not recover. 1-2-8-10. Brad Miller finally on a strike. Coming up on lane 13. It's come up light the last 2 frames. A nice pick down there on lane 14. Converting the 1-2-8-10. Nick Crummell finding himself looking at a fairly unusual split down there with a 3-4-6-10. Once again, those retro masking units helping us out with the pen lights. Wish we could see lane 3 with a really interesting leave of a 1-2-5-9. And it looks like that is George Hall, 48th place. But he does convert it. Mike Peters tripping out a late 4-pin. After 7, he goes front 3, 9 spare, 3 in a row. Sitting at 279 pace. Marshall Kent, lane 7 and 8. On 4 in a row. And on our featured pairs, John Mesker finally 10 back. Great shot. Can strike out, still go plus for 209. Scott Rains working at a 243 pace. And Brad Miller finally puts a double together. He strike out for a 215. Wow. Scott Rains firing it up the outside. Looks like it is recovering a lot more than it did yesterday, so wondering if the bowlers are going to be finding transition earlier in the day than we did yesterday. And Vaddy, definitely agree. Cream of the crop definitely rise to the top of the field, especially when you're on a tournament like this. This is a shot makers tournament for sure. All right, we appreciate the heads up from you guys, letting us know that the stream is looking better. If you guys are having any kind of connectivity issues, please let us know so that we can address them. Jacob Kent going high on 5 and 6 for 4-6-7, gets 2 out. He still leaves him with a 245 possibility. after 6 frames. Chad Nelson, 3rd place finisher after yesterday, coming up on lane 6. Little light mixer, maybe get the 10. No. Just not enough to get that 10 down.
All right, guys. Hopefully the stream should be smooth sailing here.
There we go. Knock on wood. Or plastic. That's what we got here. So.
Yeah.
So I was just talking about how the troubles continue on 13 and 14. Brad Miller can strike out for a 204. John Mesker can strike out if he converts this spare. Kind of a tough bucket leave with the 8-pin, 6-count bucket. He'd shoot a 189 if he converts this and then goes back 3. Does not, leaves the 5-pin, so that's going to leave him going negative on the game. Most importantly, Matt, I want you to watch how Scott Rains is tackling 13 and 14. Going up the outside super hard, and the ball looks like it is recovering a lot more than it did yesterday. Brad Miller makes a ball change, 10 back, could still go 204. Scott Rains coming up on lane 14, firing.
And it looked like he just pulled it a little bit off his hand.
Yeah. But it seems like he's throwing a ball that is revving up super early off his hand, kind of reading in the mid lanes and then backing off on the back ends just a little bit. So if he gets it in, it's going to be just like the ball that he just threw, but he's been going pretty much light mixers or trip 4s. And that's what you got to do. He still has a chance to go plus this game. Jacob Kent coming back from that open on lane 5. He'd still strike out for a 245. Marshall Kent right next door. You can see he takes out 10 pin. Going at 258 base. John Mesker, lane 13. Bob, I agree. It is not the normal reaction that we're used to whenever people are playing up the outside. It seems like people were playing up the outside yesterday were having trouble getting the ball back to the pocket, kind of reading a shape, whereas Scott's really having to fire it down there. The ball's reading super early, but it seems like it's kind of giving him that back-end reaction that you need on this pattern, where it's keeping the angles a little low, lower than normal. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of pin action in the center, so if he can keep going his 9s and 10s, that'll be good enough, especially getting out on lane 13 and 14 with a plus score. John Mesker strikes spare in the 10th frame for 167. Brad Miller putting 2 together. Needs a strike here to still have a chance to go plus on the game. Mike Peters on 9 and 10. Just in front of our booth, but a little out of camera range. Coming up on lane 9, has a chance to throw a 258 going into the 10th frame. And wow, a rough opening game for Jacob Kent. You ready for this, Matt? Just got standings.
Yep.
Jacob Kent has gone from plus 135 in first place down to plus 113, ties for 5th place. So a 4-place drop with a 178. Nick Crummell, your new tournament leader, at plus 139. Greg Thomas in second place. Looks like our leaders basically went 2-0s. Did not fall.
So we have standings after one already?
We have standings after one.
Out.
So Nick Crummell,
Excellent.
first place, 139. Greg Thomas, second place at 126. Tom Hess goes plus 4 on the game at 125, lands him in third place. Chad Nelson drops a spot, 124, fourth place. Mike Peters plus 113. He should be moving up. I think he's going to move up basically over everybody, because he's going to shoot at least 240 this game. Jacob Kent, sixth place, or tied for fifth, 113. Marshall Kent plus 108.7. Jamie Clark drops off a bit, plus 71. Brad Miller and Brett Lobdell find themselves tied at plus 42 in ninth place. Shannon Buchanan, 11th place, plus 37. 12th place, Dwayne Kiltz, plus 30. Stephen Keeler, plus 29, 13th place. Gordy Kilpatrick, 14th place at plus 28. Rounding out our top 15 is Edward Peterson with plus 26. Lands him in 15th place. So our spot right now is plus 42. So everybody's still in contention. And George Hall going from all the way from our cut at minus 40, shoots 230 the first game, puts him all the way up from 48th to 22nd place at minus 10. So it leaves him at 52 off the cut. Looks like he's running into a bit of trouble on 3 and 4. He's making a ball change. Can strike out in the 6th frame, go into the 7th. If he strikes out from there, he has a 226. That would move him up even more in the standings. 220s, 230s, that's moving you up a significant amount today. Troubles continue for Jacob Kent on our feature pair 5 and 6. Opens in the 6th and 8th frame. Can still shoot 211. Chad Nelson hasn't had a strike in 3 frames. Goes 9 spare. Split open. 9 spare. He can strike out for a 203. And Nick Crummell leaves a 4-9 on lane 5. Misses both of them. He can strike out for 190. So our tournament leaders right now, going into today, not having the greatest of times. Tom Hess can strike out in the 10th for 189. Marshall Kent making a move, can strike out for 238. Mike Peters right in front of us shoots 247. And on our feature pair, looks like they finished up with 167, 209, and 204. Jacob Kent, strike in the 9th. Looks like bowling has finished on 13 and 14, so we're going to bring you lanes 5 and 6 for the rest of this match. Top right of your screen, that's Marshall Kent's shot, 10 back. So that puts him guaranteed plus on the game. And so it seems like the pairing of Marshall Kent and Tom Hess is really good because they can play similar styles, but going back to what Tom Hess was saying yesterday about how he kind of forgot about how his game is going right, playing hard. But today, it looks like he is standing left and kind of trying to loop it a little bit more than he did yesterday. Kind of wondering if he's either just known as David Henson. He is actually throwing his IQ towards solid, going probably 23 at the arrows all the way out to about 10 at the break point. Nice and slow, smooth, keeping the angles low. And it has been 10 back, both shots in the 10th here. So Brad Miller does go +4 that game. Gets the back 4. Scott Rains manages a 209. So I think that this is the best showing that we've seen on 13 and 14 so far, with 2 bowlers going plus on the pair. John Mesker, a little bit of trouble with a 167. Jacob Kent coming up on lane 5 can strike out for a 211. Chad Nelson has a potential 192. And our tournament leader, Nick Crummell, troubled this game, can strike out for a 190. Let's take a look and see how Jacob Kent attacks this left lane, because he hasn't struck in the last 3 shots on this lane. Goes high again. That is trouble. Big 4. Going to lose pins this game. Looks like if he gets 2, he has a 177. Jacob Kent, leading coming into today, drops to 5th place. I believe Mike Peters is going to be your new tournament leader with his 247. I think Marshall Kent's right behind him with the 236.
We're going to be in for a treat on next game. On 13 and 14, we're going to have Tom Hess, Greg Thomas, and Marshall Kent. And on our 5 and 6 featured pair, we are going to have Troy Fuller, Jason Wagner, and John Brocklin.
After one game, looks like John Brocklin moved himself to 17th. Came into today and 43rd. So he went from 26 under all the way to 9 over. So he shot 235 to open up his day. Let's see if he can keep that going on 3 and 4 with our featured pair. But for now, we have Nick Crummell up on lane 5. And that was interesting. Tom Hess just threw his plastic ball and his fill ball, at least a 4-pin.
Was it straight or
where was it at?
Yeah,
it was straight. It was straight at the pocket. You know, I wonder if frustration setting in or if he's trying something.
You never know.
I mean, we saw Marshall yesterday throwing urethane, so. Nick Crummell doubles up. If he strikes in this last ball, he has a 190. Chad Nelson coming up on lane 6. If he strikes here, he'll find himself in the 190s. So 5 and 6, not treating our bowlers very well today. Seems like we pick good pairs for streams, huh, Matt? All right, so Inside Bowling Matt giving us a little suggestion in the chat room, trying to get that stream help you guys.
Yeah, if you guys are having some issue, we seem to have fixed it for just about everybody watching now. If you're still having an issue, try clearing your browser cache and then closing and reopening your browser and then coming back to the page. That has seemed to help for a couple of people. I currently have it up on my phone on cell phone data, and it is flawless so far for the last 5 minutes.
All right, so Nick Crummell goes -11. Jacob Kent -23. Chad Nelson -8. So I feel like we're going to see a big change here this next game because Mike Peters just shot 247. Marshall Kent 238.
Speaking of Marshall Kent, here he is starting game number 3 here on lane 14.
David, you get a chance to see Marshall Kent using that IQ Tour Solid. Great ball by Storm, one of our many sponsors for this tournament. This is the Fusion Realtors Open, coming to you live from Maple Lanes, Waterloo, Iowa. Super retro center, awesome look, but the scoring system completely updated.
Yeah, it's state of the art.
The lanes look brand new. AMF HPLs. We're going on a 38-foot pattern today, same pattern used yesterday, using the Kegel Ice Oil. High volume, 29 mils. 1.93 to 1 ratio. In lane 13, troubles continue. 2-4-10. We're seeing a ton of those today. Absolute ton of 2-4-10s. Looks like that's Greg Thomas. Greg sitting in 4th place after one game. Or I'm sorry, coming into today. After one game, he moved up to 2nd place.
Nice. And it looks like 5 and 6, the bowlers are starting to encroach into the bowlers area again. 5
They're
and
starting
6
to what?
encroach into the bowlers area.
Didn't we have that yesterday in the ruling?
What?
Of the foul?
Yeah, that's the wording they used in the rule book, I think, is encroaching on the foul line.
Boy, nothing. No, thank you. I'd rather just say they are making their way into the bowlers area and be done with it. Let's not show our degrees off. And
I'm not going to open my mouth for 10 minutes. Anyway, 5 and 6 again. Troy Fuller, Jason Wagner, and John Brocklin. We're going to watch Tom Hess's first shot here to see how 13 and 14 treats him.
Let's see if he's throwing that plastic ball again. Looks like the ball that is the ball that he finished the squad with. Looks like he has made a move right, but it did not come back.
Yeah.
He's a tough 7-8. Couple of unconventional spares being left today. We see the first shot on 5 and 6. That was Troy Fuller on lane 5. Lane 6, John Brocklin.
Marshall Kent was getting ready to bowl, but there's a pin in the gutter on lane 13. So we're going to watch here Greg Thomas to see if he can bounce back from that opening split.
So now, Matt, is that something personal? Oh,
yeah,
that's tough. It looks like 13 and 14 is quite a bit different than the lower pairs. I'm going to go back to what I was going to say in a second, but yesterday we were told in the chat that the last couple of times that a couple of bowlers have come up here, 1 through 12 is significantly different than 13 and 14. 13 and 14 seems to be a much tighter, much truer to the pattern reaction. So you have to wonder how much people are taking that into account and if it's consistent. It seems to be consistent pattern or qualifying squad to qualifying squad yesterday. 13 was definitely tighter than any lower lane in the house. So going back to what I was going to say, Marshall Kent had a pin in the gutter. Decides to clear the deadwood, walk off, clear the deadwood. Matt, is that something that bothers you when you're bowling? If you had a deadwood in the gutter?
You mean like if I were bowling and a deadwood's in the gutter, would I stop?
Correct.
No. That does not bother me one bit.
Same here. I mean, it does if it's in the right gutter, I leave a 10, or if it's in the left gutter, I leave a 7.
Even then, I tune it out. Although if it does hit the deadwood,
yes, I've just seen some.
It is a foul or a gutter.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it's also the potential of causing a significant amount of damage, which I have actually seen before.
It too. I've seen a pin fly up and hit the masking unit light and
shatters. Boom, baby!
Yeah, it'll not only cover the lane that it's on, but when it explodes, that glass it'll go over to the lane left and right.
You have to shut that lane down for the day. All right, so standings after game 2. 2 frames in to game 3, and we already have standings for game 2. I called it. Your leader with that 247 last game, Mike Peters.
Nice.
Mike also was one of those in the re-entries. He was the one that made that 224-pin swing between his first squad and his second squad. Second place with the 238, going plus 144 on the day after 2 games, Marshall Kent. Nick Crummell, your tournament leader as of game 1, drops to third with plus 128. Chad Nelson, plus 116, fourth place. Fifth place, Greg Thomas, 107. Sixth place, Tom Hess on your featured pair right now, lane 13. Not up right now. Greg Thomas, our fifth place bowler, is actually up on lane 13 right now. Tom Hess, plus 192, sixth place. Jacob Kent drops to seventh with plus 90. Brad Miller in eighth place with plus 46. Gordy Kilpatrick, plus 39, leaves him in ninth. Brett Lobdell rounds out your top 10 with plus 34. So with 4 games to go, your cut right now to the step ladders is plus 32. And that's after 9 games. So that is under a 204 average right now. Marshall Kent striking on lane 14. Looks like he really did not make much of a move between 7 and 8 and 13 and 14. Although Marshall much further left than most of our other competitors. A lot smoother release as well. Keeping the angles really low, and that seems to be something you have to do if you're playing in the inside area of the lane. We have Troy Fuller coming up on lane number 5. Troy had an opening strike and then had a big split down there on lane 4. Open in the second. Let's see if he could bounce back, get something going. Tom Hess on 13. Flush 10 back. That's a double for him. Same for Troy Fuller. Throws strike in the third frame. John Brocklin coming up on lane 6. Came in light on the opening shot. See if he can make that adjustment. John, far inside, does not get the backhand reaction. Leaves a 6 count on a spare. Marshall Kent, lane 13. And troubles continue for Greg Thomas on lane 14. Leaves a 3-6-10. Greg has gone open, spare, 7 count. And you know, I do take it back. Marshall has actually moved right. That shot coming in high. Looks like he got all of it on the bottom of that one, though. Brocklin on lane 6. Attempting the spare. And that is a spare conversion. And troubles continue for Greg Thomas down there, 13 and 14. 3 opens in the first 4 frame, finds himself with a 43 in the 4th. Marshall Kent going for the same spare on lane 13, converts it. So he has gone strike, spare, strike, spare.
Okay, guys, we're still troubleshooting the stream. I imagine for most of you it's okay. They are going to post the standings. Let's see if they're up yet. That is, the tournament director has been on top of that this whole weekend. It does not look up, but I imagine they'll be up here shortly. Game number 3 here is about halfway over. As you're going to see John Brocklin up on lane number 5 and Marshall Kent up on lane 14 here on our 2 featured pairs. John knocks all 10 back. Let's see what Marshall can do here on the challenge pair of the weekend so far, 11 and 12. Makes a good shot. 10 pin standing. Over here, we're going to get a look at Quentin Bolin as he leaves a 4-pin coming in high. Scores so far through 5 frames, starting with 13 and 14. It looks like Marshall has 83. With a spare now, or an open in the 5th. He did miss that 10 pin. Tom Hess went split first frame, then the next 3 he's now up here on 13. Way on down on 5 and 6 here, John Brocklin has got spare, strike through 4, now up in the 5th. See if Tom Hess can get a little string going. Crosses over. Didn't like that shot at all. 6, 9, 10. John comes in high. 4-pin. They must be, middles must be starting to break down a little bit. Tom covers his 7-count spare. See if Marshall can bounce back after that missed 10 here. He's up in the 6th frame. Greg Thomas now throwing the ball. Coming in a little high, almost getting that late carry of the 9, but it stands. It's a tough break, but an easy spare. Bowlers are bowling pretty quick. This is a 6-game block. They're halfway done with game 3. The magic number is top 10. Everybody is fighting for that top 10 spot to reach the bracket and then the step ladder. Covered it a little bit earlier, but just going over the top prize fund payouts here. First place is going to take home a cool $2,600. $500 more than second place with $2,100. 10th place will take home $550. The low cash spot of the 48th place bowler will take home $230. So not too bad of a payout.
Matt, kind of want to interject here on this I was just taking a little bit of a walk, and Derek Sapp, your 27th place bowler, actually tied 26th, minus 14. He's going to shoot 240 down there. So that's going to put him up plus 30. So that's going to put him possibly in that top 10 spot. Looks like 7 and 8 are coming up with some good scores. All right, so how are we looking down here, Matt? What do we got going on? 13,
Marshall
14.
missed a 10 pin.
That's not good.
Tom went open pin. And then 3, and then he left with the 6, 9, 10 and converted it, and it looks like he left a 4 pin here
6,
now.
9, 10. He's not leaving.
Yeah.
Besides the 4 pin, he's not leaving easy spares today. Left a 7, 8 in the first frame and a 6, 9, 10 in the fourth frame. So, I'm sorry, the fifth frame. All right, 7 and 8. We have a 278 going and a 260 going.
So there are nice scores being shot, just not on the featured pairs.
Yeah, this game, it seems like they're, yet again, that game's 2 and 3. And a Brooklyn strike, that actually makes 2 of them. It looks like that is Tim Schmidt right there. And then Jerry Sikora, who's one of those that just squeaked in on a re-entry. He went from 82nd all the way to 45th. He's got 260 going. Tim Schmidt, let's see, what is he at after game 2? Because a 278's kind of puts you up a lot of pins. Well, that's going to put him at minus 35 if he strikes out, so that's going to move him up from 48th all the way to right around 30th. So a 267 he spares here. Still going to put him up top 30, I believe. Troy Fuller. Oh, goes for 3, 6, 7, 9, 10. Leads, it takes out everything but the 9 pin.
Yep, I'm currently uploading a picture of the scores since they haven't been updated yet, so we're going to get Game 2 up there for you. We apologize for that.
All right, John Brockland up on lane number 5. 8th frame. Still has a 225 left. Still having trouble with that right lane. Has not thrown a strike yet on the right lane. 3 out of 4 on the left lane. Marshall Kent switching balls from an IQ Tour Solid to a Marvel S on that left lane. Kind of interesting that he made that change when the first and third frame on that lane were flush 10 back. I guess he left a 10 pin, you said, last frame?
Just to give a quick update here, I did post the pictures of standings after Game 2 in the event information tab, so go ahead and check that out.
All right. Jerry Sikora goes Brooklyn. That gives him 6 in a row. He's going for a 260.
Okay, we lowered the quality of the stream a little bit to try and clear up some of this choppiness. Let us know how it works.
Once again, another super quick transition from our main IT guy, our main producer, sideline reporter, assistant producer, key grip, Matt Turek. What was the other one we came up with yesterday, Matt?
I can't
the
remember
photography. We'll have to look that one up. Greg Thomas, he's gonna find himself in a little bit of trouble here. He's a 258. Greg's sitting in 5th after 2 games with plus 107. Can only get to 168 if he does convert this spare and strikes out in the 10th. Marshall Kent going at a 206 pace, using different balls between 13 and 14. Does not strike, leaves a 10 pin. And wow, lane 11, Jacob Kent is looking at a 109 in the 8th frame. Makes a ball change and a complete line change. He goes up 3, up 4, throws 10 back, but can only shoot a 169 if he hits the last 3 in the 10th. John Brocklin, lane 6, converts the 7 pin, but did not throw a strike on 6 the entire game. Tom Hess on lane 13.
205 out.
Can shoot 225.
Oh, that's my eyes for you.
Here's another big game, though. Lane 12. Looks like Chad Nelson can go for a 255 going into the 10th frame. And you'll see in the top left of your stream, lane 12, that's going to be Jacob Kent. You can see how far right he's playing. Tom Hess does strike in the 9th frame, so setting himself up to go plus this game. Marshall Kent can only get to 195, so he's going to go minus after shooting a 238 last game. That might be the line for Kent right there. I mean, he's finding himself in a little bit of trouble these last few games, dropping from 1st all the way down to 7th right now. Pretty big gap between 7th and 8th, though, a 44 pin gap. Troy Fuller, lane 6, throws a strike. He's going for a 203 if he can get the next 2. John Brocklin, if he strikes out in the 10th here, he'll have 205. Marshall Kent, lane 13, makes the adjustment, 10 back. And John goes high, leaves a 3-6. That's going to put him at a potential 193. Wow. Just a little bit of a miss for Jacob Kent. He goes broken, leaves up 5-6-10. Tough conversion.
Yeah, definitely.
Troy Fuller hits a little bit of skid, as does Greg Thomas. 6 count for Troy, 5 count for Greg.
Yes, the shot is fun if you like.
Yeah, if you like
being hit in the head with a 2x4.
Yeah, torturing yourself. It's got to be what it feels like right now for some of these bowlers. Chad Nelson going for a 230 pace. Troy Fuller open in the 10th. Open in the 11th, sorry. 188.
Morning, Whitewater. Thanks for joining us again. Glad to see you out there in the chat.
You missed Nick taking over first place after game 1. Nick ran into a little bit of trouble last game, but he's still in third, plus 128. Did we happen to see what Mike Peters just shot down there on 15 and 16?
I couldn't, no.
I don't know why I'm asking you if you saw it.
I can't see hardly anything.
Kent leaves an 8-10 in his fill ball. 155 for Greg Thomas down there. 193 for Marshall Kent. Tom Hess can still go plus 25. Hess sitting in 6th place under Greg Thomas. Looks like he's going to overtake him. And Marshall Kent, Tom Hess is 54 pins away from him, so he can gain a few on him. Tom Hess leaving another 6-9-10. Not really a conventional spare, but he has left it twice this game. And all sub 200 games on 5 and 6. And Vatty, we've noticed that the center, I mean, we haven't seen a ton of messengers really today. Pen action seems to be a little on the dead side, I would say. But that seems to be how you have to tackle this pattern, is to keep the pens and angles low. Like we said, this is a shot maker's pattern. Tom Hess going plus. Oh, I spoke too soon. Tom Hess going even for the game with a 5 count in the fill ball. Nick Crummell switching balls, going 10 back on it. 204 for him. 235 for Chad Nelson. Jacob Kent, 155. So yet again, you're going to see another big change in the standings. Now, Matt, like we were talking about, going into games 4, 5, 6, even 7 yesterday, which we don't have today, we just have 6.
Right.
The overall plus-minus didn't really change all that much on the later half of the squad. So what are we thinking is going to take top 10 as we're halfway done with after 2 games plus 32 is the cut for top 10.
Yeah,
but we do have a pretty significant gap between 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and scores from some of the guys in the middle, like Tom Hess,
yeah,
Marshall Kent, they were right around 190, 200.
Yep.
So they're not moving very far. I don't know what Brad Miller had.
I don't think I've seen that.
What just happened?
Shannon Buchanan's ball fell off in his backswing.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I unfortunately have done that before, but
yeah,
that's got to be a little embarrassing.
Well, I mean, he's adding tape, as he should. All right, so we have Derek Sapp moving to our featured pair. Derek shot 240 his last game, so that should put him up there because he was 27th after 2 games. So yeah, that puts him at plus 30-ish. That's going to put him at top 10.
Nice.
Because we just had
and he's
Jacob
coming.
Kent
He's going to
drop.
be down towards us now.
Yeah, he's on featured pair now, 5 and 6.
Great.
Other bowlers on that pair. Matt, you got the list?
Yep. Troy Fuller. Nope, I'm sorry, that was last game. Quentin Bolin and Zach
Casey Murphy.
And Casey Murphy.
Casey again, one of our re-entries. And Casey was actually a re-entry from A squad to B squad. Most of our bowlers chose to bowl B squad and then C squad.
Heilman going into this game after 2 was, let's see here, 37th. He was negative 51. He was on, as soon as I can find his name here, he was on 3 and 4, so he's on 7 and 8 this game.
So you kind of catch him on the right side of your stream. You know what? They are right. Heilman's on 5 and 6. He is A, and so far he has the front 3, along with Matt Smith.
Okay.
All right, Derek Sapp leaves a big 4 on lane 3. Both bowlers on lane 6. Starting out with the front 3. And the fans are back on here at Maple Lanes. Fusion Realtors Open 2015. Waterloo, Iowa. Ricky Matsko alongside Matt Turek. Bringing you the action from game number 4. Halfway through. I don't know. I think Derek Sapp's shirt looks all right. Whitewater coach kind of giving his his opinion. Derek Sapp put on his nice shirt today.
John Brocklin now up on 14 on the right side of your screen.
Now let's see if John can strike on the right. There it is, right there. He struck on both lanes this game now. Last game he was unable to do that on the right lane. Derek Sepp up on lane number 6, coming off an open, going high last frame. Another 6 count, but on the right. 1, 2, 4. Nick Heilman leaves a 10 pin off a front 3. Going for the spare. Converts it. All right, standings. Game number 3. Wow, we just have leader change after leader change after leader change. Chad Nelson, your new leader, at plus 151. Marshall Kent, second place, at plus 137. Mike Peters and Nick Crummell now tied for third at 132. Listen to this gap. Fourth place, third place tied, 132. Fifth place, Tom Hess at plus 92.
Wow.
Sixth place, Gordy Kilpatrick, 71. Seventh place, Greg Thomas, even coming off that rough game, still in top 10, plus 62. Matt Smith, 8th place at plus 58. Ninth place, Dan Bach, 54. 10th place, Jacob Kent, drops to 10th at plus 45. Rounds out your top 10. But let's talk about Derek Sapp moving up to 13th place, sitting at plus 31 now.
Let's see what he can pull out here. And 5 and 6 isn't too horrible of a pair.
No, it's been really up and down, though. It seems like the Boars have either been hot. Well, I don't know. Have we really seen a big game out of 5 and 6? I know we've seen a lot of 2-0s.
In relative comparison to
13 to 14.
It's a great pair.
Yeah, Troy Fuller having some trouble here. Starts off with 2 opens, throwing that 2-8, picks it up. But Rockland has double and then a spare. Jason Woner, spare strike, going up on lane number 14. Nick Heilman on lane 6. Tough spare looking at him on a 310. But he picks it up. So goes front 3, spare. Matt Smith coming up on lane 6. Matt sits in 8th place right now, plus 58. Frame number 5 for him. Starts with the front 4. Lane 9 right in front of us. We have Brian Bannock with the front 3. Make that front 4.
You know, he was playing a lot tighter than what we seen yesterday, and that ball held. I'm curious to see what type of piece that was to keep it held.
It looked like a dude going down the lane, but yeah, that is the DV8 dude.
Well, that ball, I mean, he was real tight, a lot tighter than all other players, and the ball held very nice.
Yeah, it seemed to be 20.
It did not check up or overreact at all.
About 22 at the arrows, probably 13 at the break point.
Casey Murphy on 8, we just saw coming in high, leaving a 3-6. Derek Sapp.
Week 10.
Yeah, I thought he might have rolled it, but
and the chat kind of ripping Derek apart today. Maybe we should see if the Pro Shop has a shirt for him. So I take it a teammate of Heilman in the chat. Although Heilman, sitting on a pretty good game right now, goes front 3, 9 spare, 8 spare, 9 spare. Still has a 256 if he goes off sheet. Derek Sapp, on the other hand, has a 213 if he goes back 6. Matt Smith coming up on lane number 5 with the front 5. John Brocklin working at a 279 pace coming up in the 5th frame on lane 13. And Matt Smith goes high, leaves a 610. John Brocklin, light mixer, carries them all. Dusting his hands off.
If you're feeling like a pimp, go on and brush your shoulders off.
Ah.
All right, guys, I made a quick adjustment to the stream, trying to fix it a little bit better.
Let us know, guys. We need your feedback to know if we need to make some adjustments. So your help is appreciated, and we try and get these issues fixed as quickly as possible for you. Heilman, goes a little high, leaves a 4-pin. Thought I was going to trip it out. Looks like he is off the team for next week from Cat Hoarder's buddy. I don't even want to know in our chat room. Nick is the cat hoarder. Does anyone want to possibly explain what we're missing? Whitewater Coach, it is playing a little bit tougher today. Scores are a lot more consistently lower. Wow. Consistently lower throughout the squad. We do have a few big games being thrown up, particularly by Derek Sapp last game. Shot a 240, but this game has only had one strike, and that's in the 2nd frame. Matt Smith coming up on lane 6, went front 5, 8 spare. Comes in light for a 2-pin. Brocklin up on lane 14, throwing at a 6-count bucket. And chops it. Wow. John Brocklin just hooked a spare ball to chop the bucket. Wow. Matt Smith going for his spare on lane number 6. Jason Woner carries the messenger on lane number 13. One of the few messengers that we have seen. All right, stream's way better. That's good to hear. How about everyone else?
Thank you, 3-Rep. Thank you. That means a lot to me because I appreciate you watching, and we lowered the quality again, so hopefully it will stay smooth. We have 4 people testing it off-site, and they've all said there's been no problems, but there are certain people that are having problems, so we're working on it.
Unfortunately, that is the way of the internet sometimes. Derek Sapp up on lane 6. Got to get something going here. Just moved himself into the top 15. He needs to go last 5 for a 202. Which right now, that seems to be moving you up the ladder a little bit. From from qualifying after game 1, our leaders didn't really shoot much. They just kept it even and watched themselves rise in the standings. Heilman, another 9 count. So 9 counts his last 3 shots. Last 4 out of 5 shots. But he still does have a 234 pace going if he gets the last 4. Matt Smith still on a 267 pace. Derek Sapp, if he gets the next 4, goes 202. Switching down here to 13 and 14, not as pretty as 5 and 6. Jason Warner has a chance to get up here, throw a double on lane 14. Hasn't struck on lane 14 yet. There it is. Puts 2 together. He still has 224 left, but he needs to go the back 7 for that. John Brocklin staring at a 1-2-10. Looks like he's lost a little bit of reaction on 13 and 14.
Well, that's the story of the pair.
Troy Fuller, still, he can shoot 225 as well.
Game number 4 here is just about to wrap up.
And now this showing from Derek Sapp, nothing new to him. Sapp won the Fusion when it was at Cadillac Lanes. Once again, we are here at Maple Lanes. So nothing new, him showing a late showing. With
if I remember, did he not shoot 300 in the final match?
He did shoot 300 in the final. And actually, we streamed that event, and it is available on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, you guys will have to check that out, man. That would be an exciting final match.
All right, sounds like our stream is good to go for everybody but Doug P. Let's hope that he finds the issue.
Sorry, Doug.
And Nick Heiligman did strike in the 9th. Still has a chance to strike. And no, another 10. Another 9 count.
I thought that was going to carry it.
So 214 left for him. Jason Woner, 3 in a row, trips a 4-pin. Jason, a former exempt pro on the PBA Tour.
How many did they have exempt? Was it 63?
I think they had a total of 64. Well, no, I think it was 64 spots, but I think
you
it was.
But you can have so many qualifiers to get in, right?
Exactly. Whoever did not bowl that tournament, that's how many spots they had available.
Oh, okay. So it was different each week. Casey Murphy just came in real high here on 7 and 8, left a 4-9 in the pocket. That was rough. He did not like it.
Yeah, I mean he's having a rough go at it. He's thrown 1 strike, and that was in the 4th frame. This 4-9 comes in the 9th frame. But let's talk about Derek Sapp coming up on lane number 6. Going at a potential max score of 202. Nick Heiligman, 214. If he throws a strike on lane 5.
Derek
Sapp goes high. Man, he does not look happy about that one.
But he's a classy professional. I'm sure he's going to handle it well and move down to the next pair and try and pop out a good game.
Yep.
And he's really been making big jumps here today.
John Brocklin, he did make a move right. Let's see how that works out for him. Right in the pocket. And now Marshall Kent attempted to do that last game, and when he made the move right, he went high for a 3-6-10, so it's definitely interesting.
Fine line.
Yeah, because he actually had to make a ball change.
Oh.
Balled up and wound up making it.
Oh, Derek just chopped it.
Oh,
that was rough.
So that is a 168 for him. Goes 32 under.
Pace of play is moving right along. This is the end of game number 4. 2 more to go. The magic number is the top 10 bowlers,
which sits at 45 right now. It actually went up quite a bit between game 2 and 3. 13 pins increase. But we do have a big jump right now. Matt Smith is in 8th place right now with plus 62, but he's about to pop off at least a 230 here. He's a light 7, so he's going to go 236 or 237. Puts him at 97 over if he opens, 98 if he picks it.
Top 10 is going to bowl. They don't have a set time. What's going on here, this is a 6-game cashier's round. And when they're done, when they're done, shortly after that, that's when they're going to go into the bracket style 10 versus 7, 8 versus 9. The winners are going to fight it out, and the winner of that match will then become the 5th seed. So it's almost like a 4-man bracket to determine the 5th seed for the traditional stepladder.
Just confirm with tournament director that they do not re-oil after the 6 games. It goes right into the bracket-style match play. Oh, that's a tough break right there. Right here on 9 and 10.
But still, great scores on that pair.
Yeah, great scores.
244, 236 on that pair.
Yep.
That's right out in the middle. Game 4 is done. We're going to finish out Game 4 here on 13 and 14. John Brocklin is going for his 10th frame. Looks like he went strike in the 9th, strike first ball of the 10th.
He could shoot 212 if he gets the next 2. Now, as Brian been knocked down here, he had 268 going into the 10th. Goes high, leaves a 610, chops it, but that still gives him a 230 game. So that's going to put him at 17 under, which is still in the top 25. Brocklin does get the strike in the 11th, so he is guaranteed plus this game. Troy Fuller needs 8 on this ball to go even. 10 back, 202. That is a plus game for him. Jason Now, I've been told that I was pronouncing Jason's last name wrong. I thought it was Woner, but Wozniak. Tough one. That's part of the game, though, is to get the tough names correct. I'll just stick with Brocklin. Leaves a 10 pin for plus 11 this game. That puts him at even for the tournament, which is good for around 22nd.
Jason with a
possible
168 in the 7th, it looks like. I'm sorry, 8th frame. He struck first ball of the 10th.
Matt,
I can't see it.
You need glasses.
I really can't see it.
Because he can strike out. He can get the next 2 for an even 200.
So, real quick, guys, there's going to be a GoFundMe account.
Yes.
To get me glasses.
Or contacts, either way. Well, I don't know. They're going to be so thick that you're not going to be. It's going to look like milk caps in your eyes.
Yeah, I should just buy them with tape already on them. So here's Jason's. I don't even want to say it. Here's a next shot for Jason.
Yeah.
I think it's the second ball in the 10th.
No, it's his last ball in the 10th. He needs a strike to go to 200 even. And he 4 pins for 199.
All right, let's go back down here to 5 and 6, where Game 5 is now underway. On this pair, we got a
Rob
pretty good
Amers.
lineup. Let's see here.
Just through on lane 6.
Kevin Williamson is on this pair, Brandon Hansen, and Rob Amers. Kevin is getting ready to step up on lane 5.
Kevin, two-handed lefty. Yep.
He's got it's a good style for two-handed, and he's very accurate with it, and smooth.
Yeah, super smooth. Interesting swing though. Kind of.
It is interesting.
Really tucked. Not much of a. I guess what you would call a pendulum swing. A really tucked in, kind of close to the body, and just.
Yeah, and he really leans forward a lot at the waist.
Yep.
And when he's lining up, his right arm seems to be over the top of the ball, almost like he's cradling, like hugging the ball almost.
Does hugging the ball result in more strikes? I guess we're going to find out this game.
I don't know, but earlier this week, it was my understanding that it was National Hug Day.
Oh.
I'm glad I didn't know about that when it happened.
Did you randomly get hugged a lot?
No, but I heard about it on Facebook, I believe, afterwards.
Oh, I see.
The day after, there was lots of pictures of people hugging each other.
Oh, okay.
I was curious to know why.
Yeah.
It's definitely a shot makers tournament. Cut last night was negative.
Negative 40 for the top 48.
Yeah, after 7 game blocks. So,
and now there were re-entries allowed yesterday,
yes.
So it was not the quote-unquote true top 48 because Casey Murphy and Kenny Calkins both re-entered, and they both did better
on the re-entry.
But they both did better on the re-entry, and so we went all the way to our top 50. So our 50th bowler actually made the cut today.
Yeah.
And Rob Amers, little trouble on lane 5. Rob is a Storm Pro Shop staffer. Really nice guy. We got to chat with him a little bit yesterday. Just seems like a pretty fun guy.
In fact, I think I ran into him at the casino last night.
Oh yeah?
When I was down, we were going up. I was going down from the room to get something to drink, and he was checking in, I guess, to the hotel.
Nice.
And we talked for a little bit.
Rob up on lane 5 right now. Converts the 2-4.
Back to split screen here as game number 5 has started. Up on 13 and 14.
Looks like Brett Cooper up on lane number 14 does carry for double, opening double. Then Brian Bannock coming up on lane 14. He's the one that just opened in the 10th for a 238 last game. It's going to move him up a bit. He was sitting at 39th at minus 53 as of game 3, but game 4 shoots 238. Moves him up, should put him in the top 25, but that significant 10th place spot, which is sitting at 54 over, your former leader, Jacob Kent. A little bit of trouble today, but it looked like he made an adjustment that allowed him to get to the pocket a lot easier. And on lane 5, we see Brooklyn shot by not Dan Perry. That is Brandon Hansen down there. Brandon Little trouble to start this game. Goes strike, gutter spare. Now he has a Brooklyn 8-pin. So, a little tough to get a read off of that. Brett Cooper coming in a little bit light on 13. Leaves a light 6-pin. Brandon does convert the 8-pin on lane number 5.
Looking at scores here on 11 and 12. I'm sorry, 13 and 14. Not too shabby to start, actually. Everybody's clean so far. Looks like Kenny Calkins missed the head pin to the right a little bit, but that's not too terrible of a spare to try to convert.
Kevin Williams coming up on lane 5. InsideBowling's own Mike Flanagan, talking about Kevin Williams, says he is one of the best secrets in bowling.
I tend to agree with that.
I know
he's good. He's no joke.
He bowls in the Midwest,
yeah.
And that's the thing, is that it seems like he only stays in the Midwest. Comparable to AJ Rice from Atlanta.
Yeah, another two-handed lefty.
Two-handed lefty, and
he fires the ball.
And Flanagan says the future of bowling. And we could also compare it to young sensation Wesley Lowe. 3 very similar players. Two-handed lefties. We saw a lot of those at the Holiday Doubles as well a couple weeks ago. AJ Rice did make the trip. Made it to Sunday. So we see Rob Amers up on lane 5. Little light. Carries it out. Carries a 7 late. That's for a double right there. It's going at 267 pace. See Jeff Riggles just wrapping the 2 around the 10 on lane 4, top left of your screen. Little trouble on 13 and 14. See Kenny Calkins leaving a 3-10. Brett Cooper leaving a 7-9. Let's see what they can do on those. Kevin Williams, flush 10 back. He's got this right lane, but the left lane's giving him a little bit of trouble. He goes strike, 7 spares, strike, 9 spares, strike. Brandon Hansen, lane 5. Going for a double. Goes Brooklyn. Very, very late reaction. For a moment, didn't even look like it was going to make it to the head pin. Then all of a sudden, goes Brooklyn. Casey Murphy, you can see on the top left of your right split screen. Lane 12 just leaves a 6-count bucket. Casey this game has gone 8 spare, 7-2, 9 spare, and he's looking at a 6-count bucket right now. Brian Bannock. Lane 14, looks like he's made a ball change. Comes in light for 2-4-10. So you see Rob Amers. Max score potential 267. Bowlers going into the 7th frame. Scores in for game number 4. Marshall Kent takes the lead spot, shoots 236 last game. So he's gone 238, 234, for games 3 and 4. Marshall Kent, your leader, with plus 173. Chad Nelson, second place, with plus 151. Mike Peters, plus 129. Third place, Nick Crummell, plus 127. Tom Hess still remains in fifth place at plus 97. Matt Smith, sixth place with plus 95. Matt moves up from 8th place to 5th place. Gordy Kilpatrick drops one spot from 6th to 7th with plus 93. Jacob Kent, better game that game, goes plus 77. Leaves him in 8th spot. 9th place, Greg Thomas. Greg drops from 7th to 9th that game, even though he did go plus 10. And rounding out your top 10 with plus 70 is Brad Miller. Brad makes a move from 12th place. Looks like he had a 231 that last game. Other notables are that we have 2 bowlers that are at 2,200 right now, so that is an even pace. Top 20 is at 200 and above. Derek Sapp, 21st place. So he's made quite a move. Sitting at -1 right now. And just noticed again, Matt Smith right in front of us on 9 and 10. Front 6 again. Derek Sapp opens with spare, open, spare, next 3.
Nice.
Nick Heiligman, strike, spare, 2 in a row, spare. Matt Smith going for 7. It's another strike.
Only won 300 so far this whole weekend.
That's true.
With an IQ Tour solid.
Nick Crummell.
Nick Crummell.
On 23 and 24. And a nice spare there on lane 13. PBA washout, 1-2-4-6-10 for Brian Bannock. Crummell is making his way further away from us. He is on... Looks like he's in the mid-20s right now. So we'll be making the flip this next game. This last game, our big move. Skipping 3 pairs. Kenny Calkins up on lane 13. Wraps at 10. That's tough. Brian Bannock up on 14. Trying to get something going. He had a 7-count split in the 4th frame with an open. Doesn't hit the head pin, 5th frame. Makes another ball change. That's 3 this game and goes back-to-back 5 counts. Once again, this is the Fusion Realtors Open, live from Maple Lanes. Game 5 of 6 for our cashers round. Top 10. And our 10th place right now is at plus 70, so higher than we thought it was going to be. Front 8 right in front of us for Matt Smith.
That was another nice ball.
Once again, after the 6th game, we will cut to the top 10. Top 4 secure their spots in step ladders. 5th and 6th place get to sit out for a round. 10th goes against 7th. And 8th goes against 9th. So we go straight into that after 6 games. We have Brett Cooper up on lane number 13. Brett started off with the front 2, but had a little bit of trouble. These last couple of frames goes 9 spare, split, left a 7-9 in the 5th. And he's got an 8 spare, he's got 9 spare up in the 6th. Brett's the Storm Regional Sales Manager for Iowa.
All right, guys, we're going to get a unique look here at Matt. Got a cool little camera angle here. He has 8 in a row.
All right, yeah. Little bit of a new angle here. So Matt did have front 6 last game. Went high, left a 6-10.
He's on the left lane.
Ball's away. Looks like a pretty good shot right there.
Oh, 10 pin.
Rough.
That's a rough break. Still
Ouch.
a good shot.
Yeah, great shot.
And I'm sure he knows it. He's gonna.
But you know what? I mean, he's moving right on up the board right now. What is he in? 6th place? He was in 8th going into. Or I'm sorry, yeah, 8th going into last game. Now he moves up to 6th, but he's only 2 pins behind Tom Hess. Thinking he's going to make his way past him.
Well, hopefully he can convert this.
Which he does.
Yep, no problem. Back to our featured pairs.
All right, so Kevin Williams coming up on lane number 6. He's gone spares his last 3 attempts. Up in the 9th. Throws a strike. Possible 217. Max score. Rob Amers, lane 5. Leaves a 10 on 5 in a row. 246 left for him if he spares and then strikes out in the 10th.
Scores are being uploaded as we speak to the event information tab after game 4.
Scores jumping up right now. Rob Amers, possible max score 246. Right in front of us, Derek Sapp going for a 225. Nick Heiligman, possible 216 if he gets a strike on this last ball. And Matt Smith again, 279 if he gets the last 3. That's a pretty good question that we have in the chat. Matt, what age do you think you have to be effective playing two-handed? Effective. I mean,
well,
Wesley Lowe's been doing it for
a
couple of years.
Ball does he have? You know, what weight's he throwing? 14 pounds?
I feel like it was. I know Wesley's at least been bowling two-handed. I mean, I guess the whole time he's bowled, but he's been in the game already for a couple of years, and I mean, he was effective. I want to say in jog he was 10 when he just, blew away the competition.
Mm-hmm.
We look at Springfield's own Spencer Robarge, who,
he's what, 11, 12?
12, I believe, but just some really not even teenage bowlers bowling two-handed. And
I guess I would have to say, if I'm just going to pick an age, I'll say, so yesterday I went with round numbers. Today I'm going to go with 11 years old. I could have said 10, but we'll go with 11.
And just an update, Matt Smith striking the 10th. Rob Amers sparing the 10th. Coming up on lane 6. Kevin Williams carries out a light strike. From his reaction, I thought he left the 10.
Did we go over Matt Smith, where he was at after Game 4?
Well, we talked about how he went from 8th after Game 3 to 6th. And now he's going to make a big jump.
With 2 more strikes, it's 279.
I mean, he could get all the way out to second.
Third or second, yeah, depending on what other people do. Tom Hess has moved to the very high end.
Yeah, way down there.
Along
He's
with
on
Nick Crummell and others.
23 and 24, it looks like. Actually, though, we do have a view of that.
It's our Sky Cam Here it is right here, but it is a little tough to pick out where he's at.
So you see Jacob Kent in the middle of the screen. And Rob Amers did strike in the fill ball for 234. So that puts him at plus 17 for the tournament, which would be good enough to tie for 15th right now. Matt Smith striking the 11th, coming up on the 12th. TK, I feel like there are higher scores today, higher max scores, not overall, not the overall average. I feel like the overall average is pretty consistent to what it was yesterday, but I feel like there have been a few bowlers that have popped off a lot bigger games than we saw yesterday.
I agree.
Matt Smith getting a 8 on his fill ball, shoots 277. Kevin Williams opened the 11th, shoots 204. Rob Amers 234. Brandon Hansen finishing up on lane 6. If he gets the next two, it'll be 199. Brian Bannock continues to have trouble on 13 and 14. He finally struck, but he went back-to-back 1, 2, 4, 6, 10s.
Yeah, and that pair, this game started all right.
Yeah.
And then kind of fell apart as usual.
Well, it really does seem like 13 and 14 is tighter than any pair that we can see in our viewing area. So if you're coming from the lower end and hitting 13 and 14, it looks like you have to make probably at least a 5-board move right, but you have to watch out for that early reaction like Marshall Kitten was getting, where he went high, and then he finally just went back to where he was, balled up, and then carried.
Game 5 is finished on 5 and 6, so we're going to head on over to 13 and 14 to show the finale of Game 5 there. One more game to go, Ricky.
One more game.
Top 10 is the magic number.
Yep. Plus 70 after Game 4. Jeff Rickles sitting in 12th place after Game 4. Finishes right in front of us.
Coming up on our pairs here for Game 6. On 5 and 6, we're going to have John, what was it? Mesker. Scott Raines and Brad Miller is going to finish out from St. Louis area.
Let's see where Jacob Bedard is, because he has a 212 on this game. The strikes on the fill ball. Oh, he is at minus 71, so that'll put him at minus 59. Brett Cooper, double in the 10th, and then leaves a 7-pin for a 187 game. Once again, low scores on 13 and 14. Kenny Calkins can strike for a 167, which he does. And Brian Bannock, if he gets the last three, 158. A lot of trouble this game. Especially coming off of that 238 game, last game, where he opened in the 10th. So a lot of pins left out on the lane.
So Game 6 has started down here on 5 and 6. One more shot to be thrown on 13 and 14 to round out Game 5.
And we get to see our current 10th place bowler after 4 games, Brad Miller. Brad's usually pretty good at putting up a big number when he needs it. So to get in that top 10, needs a pretty decent game, I feel. Not sure what he bowled in the 5th game. Joining Brad, we have Scott Rains and John Mesker. Rains, at the moment, is sitting in 18th at +6, so it looks like he's about 64 off the cut going into the last game. But he does put 10 back there. He's still a lot further right than most of the others in this squad. Jeff Riggles still throwing the Roto Grip Disturbed, the ball that he said he kind of forgot was in his bag.
Kind of forgot. I love it.
Yeah, he threw practice yesterday, and he said that he didn't really get that great of a reaction with all of his equipment, and then he was done with practice, taking his balls back that he wasn't going to use, and then found it. Brad Miller opens the final game of this squad with a 4.67, so not a great start for him. Oh, that. Okay. What he meant was how old before you're unable to bowl two-handed. I mean, that is a... Bowling two-handed is quite a strain on your body. So that is a really good question. I mean, but then again, Walter Ray Williams Jr., perfect example. He actually went from one-handed to two-handed. Matt Turk joins us back in the booth.
Yeah, I just wanted to check our next camera setup because we're going to make a quick move here when this game finishes. So, a little housekeeping.
So TK or TW66 in the chat. He wasn't asking like when you can be
when
effective,
you have to
when
stop.
you stop, and
when it becomes too much. Yeah.
And so
that's
the Jason
that's
Belmonte,
an even better point.
Yeah, Jason Belmonte, the Oski Palermas, the super. I don't know. You have to be super fit to do like physically. I feel like you have to be super fit to do that. But then you have like Walter Williams Jr., who converted to being able to throw two-handed.
I don't know if he converted, but he's been practicing it.
Well, he threw it.
I know he threw it on TV.
Yeah,
a couple shots, I guess, but
yeah. I mean, but it's still technically two-handed, so
yeah.
I mean, it's almost like...
I guess it just depends on how good a shape you're in.
Yeah.
For your age, I guess it's all relative.
And how much of your physical... How much you rely on the physical aspect of it. How much motion there is. I mean, I know that there's a lot of two-handers. I'm going to ignore that, Jeremy. There's a lot of two-handers out there that actually get...
I just saw it.
Kevin Williams picking up the 3-7 on lane 11. You know what, though? Brian Valenta can do things to a bowling ball that none of us can imagine. I mean, look at what he did on the Badger against Bill O'Neill. That was unbelievable.
That was sick.
And to do that, needing all of them. Bill O'Neill needed all of them. He forced him to do that, and Valenta just got up there and did what he needed to do. Just unbelievable. The U.S. Open. I mean, he's the one. I mean, he is next lane over, 40 feet down the lane. Takes the lane out of play. Absolutely takes the lane out of play. So we're asking about Scott Rains, how he's going to do this game. Front three to start off the match. And And Brad Miller, after opening in the first frame, goes double. He's up here on lane 6. And Rob Amers, after going 230 last game, starts off this game with open. And Jacob Bedard starts off with 8 spare strike on our feature pair. Russ Cruz Jr. throwing on lane 14.
Guys, before we get too far into this last game and things start to heat up, I want to take a quick moment here and plug the Kingpin Bar and Grill, one of our featured sponsors here at the event. Right now, currently, I'm eating this really, really good cheeseburger. One of the best I've ever had in a bowling alley, and that's saying something because I go to a lot of bowling alleys. The Kingpin Bar and Grill here in Maple Lane is one of our many excellent sponsors.
We got a pizza here yesterday.
It was 10 pounds.
Yeah, we could hardly carry it.
You needed a dolly to carry it out of here.
Yeah, good stuff. And they also are giving a portion of the money brought into the center. They're giving it back to the prize fund.
Nice spare conversion there on lane 5.
Yeah, that's Scott Rains right there. He went front 3, left a 1-2-4-10, and converted it. I'm really anxious to get these game 5 scores. Like, I want to see what this is, because I feel like we're going to see a lot of movement here. And John Mesker, he hasn't seemed to be able to really get much going today from what we've seen as he's been on the featured pair. He's still looking for him in the standings here. It's in 38th at minus 67, which today, that will take home $280.
Yeah, it's a pretty good prize fund list there.
Added over $6,000 to the prize fund. As a matter of fact, crunching the numbers, the prize fund that we have in front of us is actually giving more into the prize fund than the bowlers paid for an entry in this tournament.
That's impressive.
That is absolutely impressive.
Riggs is out in front of us. He's
goes high. You can
yeah.
Oh, that's rough. He leaves a 3-6 with the 6 spaced a little right.
Yeah, I watched the first couple of shots of his, and it seems like, I don't know if he's running out of gas or if he just hasn't moved left enough. And it's just high, coming in high, coming in high, coming in high. Either slow ball speed or he's just too far to the right.
Kevin Williams having a rough go at it this game. He goes 3-7, picks it, gutter spare, 3-6-7, picks it. So he's sitting at 27 after 2 frames with the spare up in the third. See Scott Rains going Brooklyn. His max score 276. After game 4 of this squad, he was in 18th at plus 10. You see Cruz missing the spare.
Brad Miller now up on 6 here. He's working on a strike. He kind of got off to a rough start. 7-2 open split. Second frame strike.
Oh gosh,
strike,
that's trouble.
9 spare, and that is rough. But I have seen Brad make this before. It's not impossible.
I'm going to call it that he's going to pick this.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now.
He looks a little out of breath and out of steam, but Brad's a competitor.
Oh, and we see the same thing from Shannon Buchanan on 14 with the 10 in addition to it. So a tough 5 count on a spare. And Shannon Buchanan, right there, he was in 14th place after game 4. Here we go. Miller's shot off.
Miller.
Oh, wow.
Very close. He thought he had it.
So now throwing at it like that, do you feel like you would rather throw a spare ball like a 310, or would you rather throw? I know personally, I move. Basically, it's a gimme that I move at least 7 boards left, and just throw a strike ball for 3, 6, 7, 10 combination. What do you do, Matt?
Well, with that spare, I think I'd line up for a 10 pin with a plastic ball, and then make like a 2 or 3 board move right. Maybe a little bit, maybe 4 boards right. Not a whole arrow or nothing or dot, but in my head I would be thinking I want to hit the 610. You know, because chances are with my game I'd probably tug the shot anyway, and then I would spare it.
So now Wriggles throwing on lane 10. He can get the last 4 for 234. Goes high again on lane 10. Leaves a 3-6-10. From his reaction, it was a bad shot. It wasn't the lane taking over. It was him turning it a little too much on the downswing. I do have to say, our bowlers on our featured pair doesn't look like they're really putting up high numbers. The only one down there is Jacob Bedard. Can go for a 267 max score, but they are only going into the 6th frame right now. Russ Cruz and Shannon Buchanan have to go back 6 for a 2-teen. Brad Miller going for a spare on lane number 5. Converts the 2-5. Russ Cruz converts the 6-pin. Dwayne Kiltz opens on lane 7. You can see in the top right of your left part of your screen.
And we just got handed standings after game 5.
Here they are,
here
they are. All right, so it's plus 70 going into last game. What do you think?
No.
And I do want to point this out. No. It was Brad Miller at 70.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I think it dropped, but not by much.
Well,
I think it dropped by 12 pins.
Brad Miller was at an even 70 going into last game. He shot a 242.
Oh,
moved him up to 5th place. So this even turning more significant.
Yeah, this game here.
Because he is only 1 pin behind Nick Crummell, who is in 4th place, and he's tied with Tom Hess in 5th place at plus 112. So that battle for that guaranteed step ladder position is absolutely heating up. It's so close. From 9th, I'd say from 5th all the way to 9th place, they all have a shot to get that 5th spot. Brad Miller going high flush and leaves a fast 8 and a 10 at the same time.
And he almost fell down on that shot. Oh, I hope that didn't take the wind out of his sails.
I mean, he needs them all because he's only...
How far out from?
He's only 33 in the
10.
cut right now.
Yeah.
So let's go to standings. In first place, all the way up from 6th place, you and I both called it after that 277. Matt Smith sitting in first place. He is 6 pins over Marshall Kent, who sits at plus 166. And then it is a drop going to 3rd place at plus 119. So 47 pins under Marshall Kent is Mike Peters. Nick Crummell, plus 113 in 4th place. 5th place, Brad Miller, plus 112, along with Tom Hess, tied. 7th place, Greg Thomas, who is tied with Chad Nelson at plus 94. Gordy Kilpatrick at plus 90. Rounding out your top 10, Brett Lobdell, plus 79. Jacob Kent has dropped all the way to 11th at plus 76. Derek Sapp about 52 pins out of the cut right now.
Here's a look at Brad Miller. He needs it. He needs it bad.
Carries it out. There we go. There's the break that he needed.
He should take it and be happy because he's going to need some more.
And Arena, we both basically fell out of our chairs. Brad Miller fell out of his own chair on that 4-7-10. That was a tough break, but what a great break that just was. To give Brad the opportunity.
Falling late, that is a huge break for him.
And I think he needs to. I think he needs them all. That would leave him at plus 102. I don't think the cut is going to go that high, but we're still looking at that 6th position because 5 and 6 get to set out the first round. 10 versus 7, 8 versus 9.
Those matches are going to take place on lanes 3, 4, 5, and 6, which we will cover for you.
So let's kind of get an idea here as to who's doing what.
Now here's a question.
Yes.
Brad's finishing on 5 and 6.
Yep.
Let's say he's the 8th seed. Is he going to bowl on the same lane?
That is a great question. We have to find out that real quick. Matt's going to go ahead and do some recon work, see what we have going on, and report it back to you guys. Scott Rains currently 58 pins out of the cut. Doesn't look like he's going to quite make it. He could shoot a 212 this game. John Mesker, possible 185.
Okay, so I was just told that if by chance he happens to get the seed, Brad Miller, we mean, or anybody else for that matter, if he happens to get the seed that draws the lane, because the lanes they're going to use for this next round is 3, 4, 5, and 6. He's on 5 and 6 now.
Light 10 for Brad.
Left that light 10.
170 max possibility. He's fried. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Brad Miller fries, but
I don't think he does either. But he's definitely frustrated. But
deflated.
Anyway,
okay, go ahead.
The thing, if it happens to fall that way, where he's going to bowl on the same lane. They're not going to switch it. If it happens to be that way, it happens to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do because it's all already done.
It's totally, relative to, but yeah.
Yep. So, I see Matt Smith's having a little bit of trouble this game. Looks like he can get the back four for a maximum score of 219. A little less than his last 2 games. Let's see. Peters is all the way down there. Holy cow. I believe Matt is going to... Let's see. All right, so on our featured pair, we see a 183, 212 with a strike here, and a 170 game. Brad finishes with the 170. Scott Rains finishes with 209. John Mesker, 189. Or, I'm sorry, 183. You know, today I feel like it was more 2,000-ish, 4,000-ish. We've seen a lot of higher grit finishes, but not much polish from what I've seen out there. All right, so Kevin Williams going for a 222. He's in 25th right now. See how much the payout. I mean, 222, that puts him at +4, which will move him to 21st. The payout difference between that is, looks like a $50 difference. So he's going for them all. All right, so we see Russ Cruz coming up on lane number 14. Managed to put a double together. Can go back 3 for a 196. Leaves the 10 pin, goes from a 196 down to a 175 max. Shannon Buchanan, light 5-7 to finish his day. 156. Sorry, 157. Nick Heiligman, right to the right of our feature pair. Shoots 192. Derek Sapp looks like he has a 186. Greg Thomas is actually completely on the other side of the bowling center. I want to say he's down on 29 and 30 this game. Unfortunately, that is out of our viewing area. Matt Smith throwing. You can see his shot on lane 15. Leaves a 245. He can pick this and then strike for a 179 game. So that's going to put him at 151 over. So him and Marshall going back and forth. Smith gives him the opportunity to take over the lead going into step ladders. One more shot and the game on our feature pair will be completed, so we'll go ahead and go to our Skycam new feature for today. Kind of gives you an idea of how everyone else is doing. And also allow you to see the bowlers on the higher area of our lanes. All right, so Jacob Kent and Brett Lobdell, only 3 pins apart. Going from 11th to 12th, there's a 46-pin gap. So it is basically between 7th and 11th. There's an 18-pin difference. So it's going to be an exciting conclusion. And we will have standings for you as soon as we possibly can. Doug, I can check that for you. I have John was in 20th at even after Game 4. Game 5, he is at +2, so he went 202 on Game 5. Action finishing up on our Cashers round. Once again, going into today, we had the top 48, had 143 entries over 3 squads yesterday. Those 3 squads bowled 7 games of qualifying. From that, we took 1 and 3 to today, our Cashers round. All these bowlers, the minimum cash spot today was going to take home $230. Bowlers came in this morning, bowled 6 games over 6 different pairs. And what we have now is we're going to cut to the top 10. Bowlers in 1st through 4th guarantee their spots in the stepladder finals. Once again, between 4th, 5th, and 6th, it's a difference between 1 pin. Nick Crummell at +113, Brad Miller and Tom Hess at +112. How it works? Top 4 guarantee their positions in stepladders. Going for that 5th spot is 5th all the way through 10th place. 5th and 6th get a bye the first round. 10th bowls against position 7, and 9th bowls against position 8. That match is going to happen simultaneously on lanes 3 through 6. Winner of those matches will go to 7 and 8, bowl against each other. Or, I take that back. Bowl against the 5th and 6th positions. The winner of that match will move, I believe, to 17 and 18, and bowl an additional match, and the winner of that match is 5th place on our stepladders. From that point on, we have a traditional TV stepladder finals, starting on lanes 15 and 16, working their way left all the way to 9 and 10, where we have our final match. First place takes home $2,600. Second place takes home $2,100. Third, $1,600. Fourth, $1,250. And your top 5, 5th place gets $1,100. 6th place gets $850. 7th and 8th gets $650. And your top 10, rounding out your top 10, 9th and 10th gets $550.